How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana. We are going to have a great show for you today. Welcome and good morning to the entire world receiving the signals via the internet, formerly known as ARPANET, created by who? We the people, created by whom? You, with your tax dollars, with your investment in public infrastructure, with your investment in universities, colleges, high schools, and everything that made folks smart enough to create all these things that now we have the few attempting to control, the few attempting to monopolize. Folks, it's all about you. But before we get started, let's pass it on to Los Genios, the geniuses in the studio. Good morning, my brothers.
Oh, those heinous geniuses.
Heathen geniuses.
And here we are, in control for now.
Yes.
Yeah,
The computer goes astray again.
I've had several computers decide to not work today. Or not work the way they're supposed to. Well, we're entirely too dependent on this stuff. And when it doesn't work, we can't do anything about it. So we were lucky to have a broadcast this morning. Yesterday afternoon at 2:50, AT&T's 5G network goes away. Along with our transmitter signal. Yes. So I went out there, try and work on it. We are sitting on a T-Mobile box now. That my very own T-Mobile box is out at the transmitter doing the stuff that the AT&T box will not do. So I'm not happy this morning with AT&T. And I don't know if it's the modem that just went out. It seems to be okay. But the 5G signal and the 4G signal will not come in. And I don't know why. So that is a mystery to be solved later on this morning. It's like, why is this stuff not working? Because it is, after all, electronic tin cans and string.
Well, folks, before Jack comes in and say anything, this is what I'm talking about. We talk about this a whole lot, about what it takes to keep a station on air that doesn't have a big staff, that just have, in this case, one person doing what's necessary to make it happen. I mean, we are concurrently operating 3 locations to ensure that you can hear this. And with the pace and magic that Brother Howard Reynolds is able to do to make sure that no matter what, if it's possible to keep us on air, we're on air. Let's give Brother Howard Reynolds a big thank you. Let's give Brother Harold Reynolds some kudos here and a hand clap, folks, a hand clap, because, man, he made it happen. Anyway, back to you, Jack. No. We just want to give you your kudos. We don't want to hear you come back and try to be modest at all. Nah, folks, this brother requires the kudos that he's reserved.
That stuff, man. It makes me turn red.
Well, hey, I can't turn red, so I ain't gonna complain. So look.
Yes, you can. You know, honestly, folks of color, they can blush. I've seen it.
Yeah. Yes.
They can blush.
Yes.
And you can notice it too. It's like, you're blushing. I used to work with a guy named Rudy Rush. Name may be to you as a comedian, but he worked over at the Beat and Afternoon Drive. And I'd come in, I'd just love on him and give him hugs and all that. And he says, "Man, you're just the best person in the world." And I said, "Well, Rudy, no, you're the best person in the world." And he's turned red. He's a person of color, and he turned red because he has the same hairstyle as you do. And he just turned red all over. I said, "See there, you're blushing." He goes, "No, man, people of color can't blush." I said, "Baloney. They can, because you're doing it right now.
But
right,
anyway, folks, before folks, so let's finish off before this with Howard Reynolds. Thank you, Howard, for making it happen, brother. Come on in, Jack.
Good morning, Berto. How are you?
I'm doing fine, sir.
All right. I didn't have time to write anything this morning because we were dealing with technical issues, so I'm going to read one from the past.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ladies, this is about you, your reproductive health, and your vote. I hope the women, and especially the young women, are paying attention, and I know you are, to the rhetoric that the conservative right is putting out, demonizing women's reproductive rights, demonizing doctors who deliver care for women's reproductive health. You see with your eyes that the conservative right is attempting to subjugate you and oppress you. Now, ladies, vote your interest. Vote your interest. A statement with your vote and claim your rights to your reproductive health. Take them back, girls. Take them back.
Mm-hmm.
Vote them out.
Vote them out.
Vote those Grinches out.
Yeah, well, that's what I plan to do.
All right. Well, look, thank you, Jack. And you know what? You started off with the right subject, because that's what I'm going to talk about. But before I start that, I want to tell folks that the registration deadline to vote in Texas today is October 1st. The deadline is October 7th. Please don't wait for that. Please go to harrisvotes.com and go ahead and download that information to register to vote and send it in. If you're in Harris County, Texas, whatever county you are in Texas, the registration ends on October 7th. But please do it before and get it in the mail or take it down to your county office. We need every single one of your votes. When you hear Brother Jack talk about go out there and vote them out, you can only vote them out if you are registered to vote. And remember, we just cleaned up our voting rolls. They took off over 1 million people off of the voter rolls here in Texas. You know, whether you didn't answer a card, they thought you moved or what, they found any excuse to take you off, especially if you're in Harris County. So make sure you're registered to vote. I was talking to my daughter last night, and she said, Dad, I've been checking to make sure I'm registered every week. And then I told her that I checked it for both her and her mother last week. They were still on the rolls. And she said, well, I'm making sure to check every single day, which is what, you don't have to do every single day. But I mean, go ahead and check to make sure you're registered. harrisvotes.com, I think is where it's at. But wherever you are in this country, whatever county, whatever state, please, folks, make sure you're registered to vote. If you can go vote early, please vote early, but please do vote. Now, a lot of folks have been, not a lot, some people have, and these are not mostly men, all men. Why are you constantly talking about this woman issue? Why are you constantly talking about abortion? That's not the only subject. No, it's not. You're absolutely correct. The economy and a lot of things we always talk about, we'll continue to talk about. But if we get the wrong government in for the next 4 years, that's 4 years worth of death for a lot of women in states where their the rights to their bodies are denied. We already have had several deaths in Georgia. We're going to talk about Georgia in a little bit because it's important what that judge in Georgia said. But a lot of women losing agency in their bodies, they will die. Some of them because they're waiting to be sick enough to be seen. Some of them because they're going to go through alternative methods to take care of their own bodies, to take care of their own personal economies. So that's why we are so concerned about saying everybody needs to go out there and vote. Women, you need to vote appropriately. And men who love women need to be there in that supportive role to vote appropriately. Do not let extremists put the life of your daughter, the life of your niece, the life of all your sister, your mother at risk. I'm going to start the program, but since Tag is already on the line, let me bring Brother Tag in, and then we'll officially start. Come on in, Brother Tag.
Good morning, Alberto. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. Talk to me.
I just wanted to mention a moment about how quite often we see history repeat itself. You've probably seen that.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember the days of austerity here in this country, and I'm not sure if you were here from Panama then. You probably were. But the last time we had austerity was during George Jr.
Mm-hmm.
and the mess it created that Obama had to take over. But a lot of people forget these things. And when the Republicans come up with this idea, it's just like trickle down. You know, the austerity program really hurt our economy, and it takes a long time to recover. But what we're talking about here is the 2025 whole debacle is just a big plan to force austerity on our country again. And it just doesn't work. We know that from the past. So I just want to throw that out there this morning that we can't let this happen. It just would be detrimental to all of us. So,
Tag, let me just say, austerity, you're absolutely right. Professor, Dr. Economist Richard Wolff can actually show you the charts that prove, austerity makes no sense. We always want to have an economy based on the Keynesian-based economy always works, right? In other words, when the private sector fails, the government is always there as a backstop, because the government in a country that has sovereign currency can create money to recover from wherever the private sector has failed. Keynesian economics has always worked. In fact, let's give some examples, right? Tag, if you look at how Brother Biden brought back this economy to be the economy of economists over the entire world, what he did is put Keynesian economics on steroids. He did what Obama was not allowed to do after the crash of 2008. He pumped money into the system as wherever it was needed. And you know what that did? That prevented us from crashing. That allowed us to recover from a pandemic, which 2008 wasn't a pandemic. 2008 was a man-made disaster created by derivatives, etc. In other words, they locked up the system in 2008. Here we had a pandemic that created these issues. And what's interesting is if you take a look at all the economies around the world, what Biden did with the American economy prevented that recession, prevented that. And by the way, for folks who says, well, he prints so much money, that's not what officially happens. But for those who say he prints so much money that we got inflation, again, you can review the blogs that I've written and what the experts have said. There was no real inflation created that was not greedflation. In other words, prices didn't go up commensurate with shortages at all. Real inflation is caused by shortages. We had spot shortages. We never had full shortages created by, meaning supply not being able to meet demand. So most of that inflation was just a money grab by the few, the wealthy, the corporate folks. So Tag, thank you for bringing that stuff up about austerity. Austerity is never, ever needed. Anything else, Tag, before I jump to Patrick?
Yeah, there was another choice at the end of the pandemic or to get us out of the pandemic, and that was depression.
Exactly.
If you don't do some inflation in the economy, you're going to get depression and austerity. And
Yes.
that was the choice. A lot of people don't think of the alternative to that. Now, I've just got to say real quick, I saw this article on French news last night. The price of butter in France has inflated by 100% just recently.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is because milk production is way down in cattle. And if it happens in France, it's probably going to happen here. But the thing people don't realize is that when you have these natural disasters like this, that is the outcome, is you're going to have inflation. And unless they do something to stop that with the economy, it would be really hard on everybody. So this time we had kind of a landing because they put the money out there for us.
Now, Tag, I didn't read the story that you're saying, but that would be real inflation if I understood you correctly. You said milk production was down, and because you had a shortage, that is a genuine reason for inflation. What we had in America was not a genuine reason for inflation. There was really never, ever an oil shortage, and that increase in the price of oil, when it permeates itself through the economy, transportation for goods increases, fertilizer prices increases, just from having oil go up, just from them stealing money with oil. That created that problem. All pieces went up because we are an oil-driven economy. Thank you for bringing that up, Tag. I got to get to Patrick.
You can see that with the price of butter going up 100% in France, that we will be shipping butter to France pretty soon in Europe, and our butter prices are going to go up too. So
Exactly.
There's always a world economy.
Yes. You're correct, but you have a wonderful day, sir. Thank you. All right, let's go to Brother Patrick. Come on in, Patrick. You're on, Patrick.
Good morning. Hey, kudos to Tag about pointing out real reasons for inflation, and we're probably in for it, and it's not going to be because of whoever is in office, but it will be because of policy. That gigantic storm that we just had, everybody's going to be claiming insurance claims, and everybody writes that off. So it doesn't matter that it went through the center of the United States. People on both coasts are going to be paying for it. We're going to be paying for it. This is just going to keep coming. And these storms were actually a policy of one of the parties. There's pretty much just one group in the world now that denies climate. I just wanted to put that out there.
And absolutely, and you're correct about. Let me tell you what's interesting, right? You're so correct that one storm that went through Florida and now through the southeast, and just decimated parts of North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. That's going to shoot up the price of insurance. It's going to shoot up the price of a whole lot of things. Because all of us are going to pay for it. And guess what? I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have a problem with all of us paying for what's happening because of this hurricane. I don't. Because you know what? We don't know where that hurricane would have gone. It could have come to Houston. It could have gone anywhere. We could have big earthquakes in North Dakota. That's why we have that's why we're socialized, because we want to make sure that no one suffers sufferably. So I don't, yes, a bad thing happened throughout America. I want us all to be there to support all those people that are in pain right now. That's what a society is all about. So, but yeah, things may go up a bit because of that storm. Now, what we need to do is listen to what you just said, Patrick, and realize that we need to start preventing some of this stuff from happening, first of all, by reducing our hydrocarbon use, moving to net zero, so that we get less of this stuff. And we've already crossed the bar. So, I mean, it's going to continue to happen for a while, but we can at least make it a little bit better for our children and grandchildren. Continue, please, Patrick.
I agree with pitching in, and everybody does need to be helping each other out 100%. But again, we need to really realize that since 1980, billion-dollar storms have increased tenfold. So we're experiencing this 10 times over. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I wanted to give props to Brian the other day. He called in, and he's correct so rare I have to bring it up when he is correct. Panama did make abortion illegal. But the difference between Panama and Texas is if it's incest due to violence, if the pregnancy is endangering the woman, there's all provisions for them to get help. I'm not agreeing with Panama making abortion illegal, but at least they have the good sense not to endanger women to the degree that we are.
Yeah, I looked it up and I forgot to mention that to him. I should have said, yeah, you're right on that, but, and put the but that you just put in there. But there's another thing that I also read about Panama, and that is there is a ship that stays in international waters for abortions that are not within those limits that you talk about. That women, I don't remember the name of the organization, that they run through Central America and the Caribbean to perform abortions in international waters for women that that don't fit the criteria for the country, and that involve also Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. So
that's
they have
the number. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. I was going to say that's probably to reduce the number of. I was going to say I think that's probably to reduce the number of women that are going to die in alleys. So
right.
They probably understand that it's going to keep going. Lastly, and I'm sorry I'm going so long, but we talk about recovery from the COVID, and people keep pointing towards each other and saying disastrous policies. I'd like to point out that the PPP program was a disastrous program. There was no checks and balances. The boss I worked for, even when we went from working truly 80 hours a week down to 30, was threatening us, keeping us from going to get partial unemployment. He told me how difficult things were, and I even caught him taking hours off my timesheet. And I found out that same month he used all that PPP to buy a $10 million ranch.
Wow.
While we sat at home trying to figure out how we're going to eat.
Are you still working with him?
So, no, I quit. But that's what happens when you hand the rich the tools to fix what the poor is going through. It won't ever happen. You can't fix what the poor is going through by handing money to the rich. It won't work.
Thank you. I'm glad that you pointed that out, because that story that you just told is a story that's been told over and over again. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene got a few $1 million herself from the PPP program. The people that made the best out of it, again, as usual, were a bunch of rich people, and they didn't have to pay that back. You know who had to pay it back? The lower small businesses that got not PPP loans, but lower interest rate loans, etc. It's amazing that how they always talk about people living on the dole, which is they're the ones generally living on the dole. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Have a great day.
You too. Brother Johnny, come on in. And then Rick after Johnny.
Yeah, Patrick's story is not only aggravating, but it's scary on how the centrist Democrats, when they're in power, like during Obama's time, and they passed that TARP program, remember? Mm-hmm. Or during Hurricane Katrina, when George Bush was in power. No matter who's in the White House, the Democrats don't enforce agreements. So when the Republican businessmen agree to these agreements to hire so-called native-born Americans, they know damn well they're going to disregard it because they know the Democrats are too sheepish to stand up to them and call them out and expose them. So we have these rip-offs over and over and over again. That's why
Johnny.
Yes?
Johnny, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to say what I find, I wish Kamala Harris would use that sort of narrative that you just mentioned here. Because I don't know if you remember during the time of the mortgage crisis, when all these banks were really taking away homes from people, even the ones done with illegal methods and whatever. She was a Democrat who fought back and got 20, and this is real. I looked it up. $25 billion away from the back from the bankers back into the hands of people. So you kind of wonder why she doesn't play that up even more. That says, hey, where everybody was willing to screw the poor people, California didn't under when I ran the Attorney General's office. Continue, please, Johnny.
It's amazing, isn't it? How it's so easy to forget these positives because they're so few and far between. And the reason I was calling was to remind our brother Tag that GOP austerity never went away. We're still dealing with it. And how does it manifest? It manifests in a variety of ways, one of which is the postal system, how it's being driven into the ground on purpose by Louis DeJoy, who's a thief. He's a thief, and he's getting away with it because of rules and regulations that we abide by while they ignore. How about our education systems on life support now? That is the result of GOP austerity. Basically, it's when Republicans are in power, they reduce the public treasure while at the same time transferring it to the wealthy, and they cut operating budgets for various government agencies, making them ineffective. And then they put people in charge of these agencies who don't care about public agencies. They undermine, like Louis DeJoy and that lady who was the brother of that mercenary guy who was in charge of
DeVos.
Yeah, GOP austerity is alive and well, and we've got to kill it along with the way we practice capitalism in this country. Otherwise, nothing will change.
Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate your always wise words. I got to go to Rick, but before I go to Rick, I want to point out something. Thank you. Anything? Yeah, I want to point out something because Johnny mentioned post office. The post office has always been able to balance its book profitable, etc. They were forced to come up with $75 billion to front load the retirement program for their employees, something that no private company has to do. And the reason they did that is to cripple the post office and to make the post office look like it was less profit. Well, not profitable. Because post office is not supposed to make a profit. It's supposed to break even. And what they did is they forced them to do it. And even above and beyond that, they're really not out of the game. What the expectation is that they could find way. The post office is in the Constitution, so they can't just get rid of the post office. But the attempt that they're doing is to offload a whole bunch of the private sector, FedEx, UPS, DHL, all these other private companies. You can't allow that to happen. Let me tell you, there is nowhere on this planet where you can actually send, no matter what part of the United States, a first class letter for under $1. The cheapest you could get that with FedEx or whatever is over $5. There's no other company on this planet in America that can get your mail to any part of this country, whether rural, urban, wherever. In fact, the private companies say, well, it doesn't make sense for us to establish service to this part of rural America or that part of rural America. Guess who does it? They offload. The private sector offload their last few miles to the United States Postal Service. That is a hell of an organization. When people tell you government doesn't work, let me tell you something. We the people work very well. Now, there are parts that we may want to get better, etc. Government works, and you need to ensure that it continues to work. the lies that they tell you, and when they try to promote a problem with government, the reason they do that is some rich private entity wants to get that market to profit from. I want you to remember this. The only having the government deliver stuff is a lot cheaper, a lot more efficient than the private sector, because the private sector has to pay the shareholders of FedEx, UPS, and DHL. They have to pay expensive executives of FedEx, UPS, DHL. It's a math problem. And they try to screw the math problem by asking the U.S. Postal Service to pay $75 billion in upfront load the retirements no private sector company is required to do. So don't buy the crap about the wasteful United States Postal Service, etc. It is simply not true. Let's go to Rick.
Hello. I'm humbly known as Lord Reverend Ricky Dean Morris Jr. I'm your previous Homeland Security Supervisor to the Port of Houston. I keep hearing experts. I keep hearing we need to listen to scientists. And I keep hearing we need to listen to doctors. I agree with more so the doctor factor than if we pull out of the history books the scientists that were bomb makers from overseas or even under Hitler. Our government hired those guys. So a lot of them went from bomb making to just being simply called scientists. So we don't know what side they've been playing on. But a reality I could give you is we had about 14 to 20% inflation, and that was between 2020 and go up to about 2022. And if you go before that, go all the way back as far as you want. As long as Biden's been around, we've heard about 2 to 4%, whether it be inflation, whether it be unemployment, with everything they've tried to keep around those same numbers, because the government's required to enact certain money that's supposed to go out to the people, not back to the government. But when you had Trump run for Democratic president, Barack Obama roasted him. So then, whether he realized his friends turned on him or we were looking at a big act, because you normally call the people that are going to roast you. I think we've gone forward with 2 administrations that we've come from the past with, and Biden's pretty much been in and around the White House the whole time. So people say you can't blame one person for certain things, but Jerome Powell is the person not being highlighted for saying when they locked you down during COVID, hey, inflation's because everyone's locked down and there's no money moving around. That same individual, just like Dr. Fauci said, Trump punked them. They say that Trump made them scared. So Biden being in the White House with Kamala Harris, not as a senator anymore, but as his vice president, that same Jerome Powell said, inflation's because too many people went back to work and there's too much money floating around. I'm listening, and I can pull up any one of those news articles that I just told you about. And that same Jerome Powell said there's so much money floating around now that we got to get rid of 2 million jobs. So if no one remembers Fmr, go back to 2000. Fmr and baby formula was about $2 and 60 some odd cents. Well, you come forward to today, $50 for that same Fmr. And there's a $1,000 kennel meal or something over in Europe. Now you tell me what kid or what family is going to go out and get that with that same $1 they take out of your Social Security and try to split it 10 ways to pay health care through Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and SSDI. That same $1 try to pay the police, fire department, ambulance, emergency room, the teacher's salary, the free lunch for the school kids they keep forgetting to sign. But they find a way to say we can't print money for the people in need. here at home in America. Whether they disenfranchise the people from Hurricane Harvey,
Okay.
go back to Hurricane Knight.
Rick,
If I could be, you said an expert, right? And then y'all keep cutting these people off. I'm your previous Homeland Security supervisor to the Port of Houston. I'm the guy that put the TWIC card in place. It goes
thank you.
Customs, Port Police captains around the globe. So when the presidents get on Air Force One, they go through TSA. They're going by this nobody's rules. You're
All
on
right,
the
Rick,
phone.
brother Rick, you've been speaking for 4 minutes and 19 seconds. 4 minutes and 19 seconds. So let me just.
It's okay. I want y'all to keep speaking, and I love y'all souls.
No. But what I want to give you some kudos. Hold on, please. Hold on, please. I want to give you some kudos. All right. First of all, I want to say you mentioned a whole lot of very smart points that needs to be acknowledged. So first of all, thank you. Now, I don't know if you're a constant listener of this program or not, but I think you would have heard me tell you that when they tried to tell you that there was too much money floating around, which was the cause of inflation, I dispelled that crap several times over. I did that. When it comes to...
I appreciate that.
Okay, so let me continue, my brother. And I also want you to realize that yes, you're correct about much of what Powell had said about losing $2 million. 2 million workers. Elizabeth Warren called Powell out on the Senate floor when he made that comment about 2 million people needed. I mean, when she said his report infers that it's 2 million workers that needed to go to get inflation down. And when she pushed back, notice that we had the soft landing, not by losing 2 million workers, but in fact, employment continued to improve. So all of those things that they said was provably false, and reality also proved that out. Now, with respect to the docs, I'm glad that it worked for the docs or whatever, my brother. I just want to promote solidarity for all those strikers right now on the docks. Give these people the wages that they deserve. Hey, Rick, I got to go to another caller. I appreciate the information that you brought in to us, but I got to go and bring other people into the discussion. Thank you so kindly. And I need to finish my show as well. Thank you, Rick. Let's go ahead and go to Jeff. Come on in, Jeff.
Hey, good morning, Berto. How are you?
All right. Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Yesterday you had, I think Bard called in and said something about reparations.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of agree with him. I mean, my father, his father, when does it stop? These people wanting just money from the past. It's the past. And
let me ask you something, because I'm glad that I like when people come back and say that, because this isn't something that we need to argue about. We just need to be fair about, and it's not about when does it stop. All right. When does it? I'm not necessarily talking about you as a person. I imagine I'm assuming you're a white guy. Is that correct?
Correct, but
okay. That's all I need. I just needed to know that. That's all I wanted to know, because what the discussion is, generally speaking, a white person may say, I didn't do anything that so I shouldn't be responsible for anything. Notice in the discussion that I had with Bard yesterday, I said that if we went ahead and say there is absolutely no inheritance, I could live with saying no reparations, etc. But the fact that we have inheritance, right? It means that the wealth.
I agree with inheritance.
Okay, let me finish.
My
children, I do too. I do too. But what I'm trying to say, let me make the argument so that I can get you to stop thinking it's about, well, when is it going to end? It's going to end when it ends, because it never ends, because the people who have profited from slavery, the people who have profited from the what was done to the Chinese, the people who have profited from what was done to the natives, continue to profit from it today. whether you want to accept it or not. And let me
mean,
explain. Let me explain it. Let me explain it. If
okay.
you notice, I spoke about inheritance, which you continue to support, which I would like to leave something for my daughter as well. But inheritance is on whatever the previous generation made, however that previous generation made it. So if the previous generation, previous generation made it on slavery, on ripping off the native, on all these other issues, that means all the value that has been passed down was made on the backs of those that that you would not have had the level of wealth that you have, because a part of that was created from that free wealth. And if you want to look, and I'm not talking about putting a dollar into some other person's pocket, I am saying understand the systemic issues that those policies created. And when you say, well, I had nothing to do with slavery, that's not true. Because again, if you inherited anything that ultimately came from that inheritance is based on that. And that is what many folks don't understand. If just like a lot of folks have inherited the state of life that they're in, the deprivation that they're in, that's inherited based on systemic issues. And all people who are looking for reparation is not giving black folk or Latino folks or native a dollar. That's not what it's all about. It's saying we need to create a structure to correct for what caused that problem in the first place. The problem of minorities being less wealthy than white people in the general isn't a mental problem, or isn't a problem of intellect, or isn't that they weren't able to do it. It's systemic. That's what created the problem. Don't you agree with everything that I said, by the way, sir?
No, I don't, because
what part? Hold on. What part don't you agree with? What part don't you agree with?
It's not systemic. I mean, there's people. I mean, if you look around in the neighborhoods now, the blacks and the whites are living together. I mean, in a middle class neighborhood.
Yes,
and
I agree.
Good.
I agree. That's good. Exactly. So but what I'm asking, Jeff, I'm asking you what I said. Specifically to what I said, what don't you agree with? Because I want to make sure and get that point.
Well, the systemic part of it, I don't agree with.
Okay, you know what systemic means, sir? That's what. Do you understand what systemic means?
Give me your definition.
Okay, systemic means the following: because of the nature of, in this case, because of the nature of what slavery did, it affected the entire system. In other words, the entire system of wealth, the disparity in wealth, the disparity in what people have is a system-wide issue because we had a system of slavery. That's systemic.
Did and it was a horrific thing that we did.
But so you agree with that? So you agree with that?
To a certain extent, but I got to say this: when does it end? I mean, you're talking 4 generations.
I'm glad you asked that. I am glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that.
Let me ask you this. Also,
yes.
2 questions. When does it end, and who makes the decision on how much money and who gets it? And that's
great. That's a perfect question, sir. That's a perfect question that you asked, and I agree with that. Okay. First of all, there are 2 questions. What was the cost of free labor altogether? And that is a number that one can calculate. Okay? When does it end? When all of that is normalized. In other words, when all of that is paid forward. I'm not saying you give people a check or anything like that. I'm saying you correct the issues that cause the disparity. And that's what it is. And it isn't like, okay, Jeff is going to have to pay this and send a check. That's not what it's all about. It's saying create the structures that mitigates that problem. So, I mean, when we look at it like, when does it end? That's not the question. The question is, when is it paid off? The French had asked Haiti, after Haiti beat the French for their own freedom, the French had to pay Haiti because they were considered property. The biggest injustice on the planet. You didn't hear America, the country, complaining about the slaves having to pay for their freedom. But when it's the other way around that says, well, why don't you pay for the labor? We get the problem. But hey, Jeff, this holds for a long discussion, and I'm glad that you gave us a chance to have it civilly. Let's continue the discussion at some other time, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to Jacob. Jacob, I'm gonna have to restrict everybody to about a minute now. Come on in, because all the lines are full. Come on in, Jacob, real quick.
Yeah. You think I don't like you? That's local, man. Yesterday he don't like me. Why would I don't like you? Yeah, just because I disagree with your take on things sometimes.
Who said I don't like you? I like you.
Yeah, I don't like you.
Oh,
Yesterday.
no. You hate my guts, brother. You hate me. All right. Keep talking, brother. Talk to me. Talk to me. You know I love you, brother. Come, talk to me.
That's local. That's local. Okay. But yeah, it's okay. Far as far as reparations, because it's gonna come from the Creator Himself. He said, "Abram, know for thy sure that I see will go to a land and not theirs, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. And after why I sent them, they shall be judged, and they're gonna come out with great substance." So it doesn't matter. The dollar, it ain't enough money to even take that back. It don't matter. We're going to get it from Him, the Most High Himself, who put us through this. So it is what it is. And with abortion, everybody, I don't care. If you want to get pregnant, that's on you. That's on you. I don't care. Go.
All right. Jacob, I said a minute, brothers. But look, thank you. And let me tell you something, though. I know I was just messing with you, but thank you, brother. We'll talk tomorrow.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm messing with time. Let's go to Lynette. Come on in, Lynette.
Good morning. Just wanted to say thank you, Alberto, for all of the explanation, because it was great. People can choose to acknowledge those facts that you gave, or they can choose not to. And let me just say to Brother Jacob, stop talking about the abortion issue as if it's on the woman. It's on the man, too, and it needs to be placed on the man as well. And that involves the financial from zero to graduation, not just the seed. Anyway, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so kindly, Lynette. You always have wise words. Thank you very much. All right, let's go to Brother Ray. Come on in, Brother Ray.
So I just wanted to say, one thing I heard earlier, and that it kind of jogged my memory. I don't know what all these MAGA nuts and MAGA heads are remembering, but when I was going through the Trump years, I remember stagnant wages. I remember higher interest rates on my credit card. I remember, daily, dribble from this man on the TV. And I remember that one word, austerity.
Right.
Nothing moved positive direction. Everything was moving negatively when that man got into power. And I remember before he got into power, when Obama was in office, things were on the up and up. And he basically took that momentum and ran it into the ground.
Ray, you know what? I had to interrupt you, but I do want to say something. What is so very interesting is Donald Trump learned one thing. If you keep saying you did something, whether you did it or not, people have a tendency to believe it. I saw some interviews yesterday on NBC that was very frustrating to listen to. The facts are out there for everybody to see the numbers. Ray, I got to go to somebody else. Let's talk at 3:00 if you're able to come to the 3:00 show. Thank you, my brother. All right, let's go to Tim. Come on in, Tim. Real quick, Tim. 1 minute.
Hello, am I on?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, cool. It's Jim, actually, but how are you doing, Alberto?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
So I was listening to your call about with Jeff and he asked when will it end, and you said until the debt was paid off. Am I correct here?
That is correct.
Okay, but my question is how do you figure that out? Because like a lot of stuff has happened to a lot of people at that time, like a unknown amount of number. It's like, how can you really figure that? You know what I mean?
It's not. It's been done already. The number has been figured. The amount of trillions of dollars have been figured. I mean, it's not exact, right? And it's not like we're talking about paying each family individually who were. It's about treating it systemically. That's the only way you can really treat it. But you can see what the production worth of cotton and all those numbers are there for you to figure out what that labor, you give a baseline what that labor would have been, what the production I mean, there are ways to calculate it like we calculate everything else in this country for GDP and all that kind of stuff, and that calculation has been made. Go ahead, Jim. Anything else real quick?
Let me think.
That's all right. We'll talk. We'll talk. Hey, call me another day, Jim, because I have a lot of calls that I have to go to.
That's fine. I gotta get my.
Thank you, Jim.
I gotta get my thoughts in. That's fine. But thank you.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to Brother Tall Boss.
Yes, my brother. Greetings.
Talk to me, Tall Boss, man.
I want to say, when a guy come on the radio and he say he doesn't have anything to do with racism or anything, but he call himself a conservative. But what are you conserving? What your racist forefather did? So the argument have always continued. That's what he's doing. That the guy that spoke previously, this argument has been going on for centuries, man. So he continues what his forefathers' legacies. You know what I mean? Calling conservative when we live in such a systemic racism because of him and his forefathers.
Hey, Brother Tall Boss, let me tell you something, man. The one thing that you got to understand is this, right? Most of the reason people have the comments that they make is because they were not informed appropriately. Even Jeff, you notice what I try to do with Jeff is take him one step at a time, because people are basically good and honest. Once you actually present the stuff, not the lies, you present the stuff. So we'll take care of that. Tall Boss, I gotta go. But we'll talk another time. Please call back. I love to hear different inputs. Let's go to Brian real quick. Brian, you're gonna get 1 minute, and don't accuse me of cutting you short. I'll fix you up the next time. Come on in, Brian.
Okay. Yeah. MSNBC, CNN, they didn't have any of these numbers out yesterday. I told you I'm a numbers guy. 500,000 felonies. 500,000 felonies from the immigration system. That came from ICE itself.
Yes, and you know what? Stop. That didn't cover. That was over all the I mean, it's a lie that's out from the right. Okay, that didn't cover just the years under Biden. It covers over 20 years. Look at the data and look at the source. And I did it again. Remember, that isn't over the Biden administration. That is over several decades. Thank you, Brian, for bringing some misinformation. I got to go to Derek. Come on in, Derek.
Hey, quickly, thank you, Alberto, for using subject-verb agreement when speaking about the reparation issue. Jacob would have a compelling argument, but history can be boring if you can't place it in present time. Now, like Minister Farrakhan spoke about reparation as being not giving money, a lot of money. He spoke about reparation as being a transference of knowledge. How did you build what you build? What if you would give the communities, black community, that type of information? Then they can really use the reparation model to benefit the whole. Roberto, we got like you was trying to tell the guy that you're looking at generational wealth that was built off the backs of others for free. Don't holler that it's not going on. Yes, it is, because many of the insurance companies that's still around today but was insuring the slaves back then. So how come you don't go
Derek, the insurance is a very important market to talk about. To talk about, I don't have the time right now, but thank you for bringing that up, because that is one other thing that I should have mentioned to the person. I'm glad you brought up insurance. I got to go to David, but thank you for calling in, Derek. All right, let's talk to David. David, real quick, 45 seconds, brother.
Oh, no trouble. Thanks, Egberto. And I'm glad I followed him because I was along the same lines. When you think about the reparations of the companies from 150 years ago, many of them were insurance companies. And when you think about environmental racism, that people were not really allowed to escape from the sections of town that were being polluted. The big corporate polluters have dumped onto certain neighborhoods, and now the insurance companies should be not only hitting those polluters hard, but they should be protecting those neighborhoods from the poisoning. And so it would be an interesting market forces technique to see if those insurance companies would actually give a super low rate to the people that live there and a super high rate to the polluters.
Interesting. Very good concept. I love that. Let's talk about that another time, David. I got to finish off with Johnny. And Johnny, you only have, thank you for that, David. Got to go. Johnny, you got 30 seconds.
Okay, real quickly. To answer the question when he says, when is it going to end? Instead of asking that question, he should ask himself, when, because money is fungible from one generation to the next, when are we going to have people who feel self-entitled to steal and continue legacy admissions to colleges, as well as, now I forgot my train of thought. Oh, God.
That's all right. We'll talk another day, Johnny, but I got the first part. Thank you so kindly. Let me throw it to the studio before we close this baby out.
Oh, nothing here from me. What you got, Jack?
Well, Mr. President, ex-President Jimmy Carter turns 100 years old today.
Oh, yes.
Bunch of clean living, baby. Bunch of clean living.
I love that, man. I love President Carter. President Carter was one of the best. He's lived the life that everybody talks about. He built homes. I mean, I was a contributor to his that thing that he had for building houses. I can't remember it off the top of my head right now, but
Habitat for Humanity.
Habitat for Humanity. Oh my God, I love the guy. I think he's the most moral president we have ever had. Anyway, folks, happy birthday, President Carter. Hey, folks, you took over the program today. I didn't cover not one of the subject in the stuff, so go to it's all at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter has what the program was supposed to be about. But you guys are so interesting with your calls. You come first. Anyway, we got to close out this baby. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. Early voting for the 2024 general election has begun in